Welcome back to another installment of the instructions on how to use Grasshopper. This video looks at keylists. Keylists are, as the title suggests, the basics behind creating the Grasshopper graph. Now let me show you what I mean first. We'll take a look at a post. So I'm going to list some posts here. So just an ordinary post, could be anything. You have our regular stuff, but you notice some of these things here. We have a feed, Stephen's Web OL Daily, which is where it came from, and I could be adding an author. Maybe I should add myself as an author. So why don't I do that? So I'm going to update. So there we go. Now here I can edit the author, or I can come back to the post, or I can edit the feed, and you see here are some other posts that have come from that feed. And that basically is how the key list works. What it does is it connects data connects records from two different types of data. So we have a list of authors and a list of posts, and the authors are associated with the posts. And the whole list of all the authors and all the posts that are connected like that are called the graph. You can actually view the graph, although there isn't much to see. You know, they're all untitled. But here's a typical entry in the graph. So it's what have we got here? Table 1 is a feed, and here's the URL for it. It's feed number 1. Table 2 is a link. There's a URL for it. It's link number 38. So what this graph entry is telling me is that feed number 1 is associated with link number 38. This was created here. Didn't assign a graph creator, so it was created automatically, probably by the harvester. In fact, almost certainly by the harvester. And it's the type contains, and we can also give it even a type value. There's things that we can do with graph entries, linking these two kinds of things. So it's a really useful kind of data to be working with. We'll come back to the post here. To be able to add authors and feeds and so on. If we look at maybe some of the other elements, I'm not sure if we have any more graph elements here. No, not really. But we could add more if we wanted. So that's the graph. Now, how am I going to use that here on the fallacies website? Well, remember we have our list of fallacies. So we have 3 of them here. And you might recall from our original discussion that each of the fallacies has some examples. And I decided, we have more than one example per fallacy, and I decided not to make that a data type, a field in fallacies themselves. I decided I wanted to make a different type of data, which I'll call example. Like, see, I don't already have a feed named example. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the database, and I'm going to create a new type of table, and I'm going to call it example. Example, like that. So I'm going to add, now I'm going to edit the table. So here's the table. So what do I want? I want an example title, which I'll make as a varchar of, say, 128. And I also want, save there. There we go. And I want an example description, which I'll just leave as text. Okay. So there we go. Now I've created a way of creating examples. I'll just reload this, and that's reloaded my list of tables. Here's my list of examples. no records, of course, but I could make a new example, and there we have the default version of the form, and that's good enough for now. We don't need anything else for now. All right, now I want to associate this with the fallacy. So when I create an example, I can associate it with a fallacy. So let's go into forms. So I'll list the forms first of all, because the way I always do this is I steal from a previous form. So I'm just going to grab all of this and just copy it. Now I'm going to make a new form for examples. Okay, so now I've just pasted in what I stole from the other thing. So now in the edit tab, title and description. Okay, and I'll leave an upload tab just in case I want to add an image to it. I probably don't, but yeah, what's the harm, right? Okay, but now what I want is a way of associating these examples with fallacies. So if we look at how we did it in say posts, let's look at the post form. So we have author keylist, feed keylist, and that's all we need to put in to our example form. So let's whoops, I didn't need to do that. Let's go back to our example form, and underneath the description I'll put fallacy, comma, keylist, semicolon, and I'm done. So now let's go look at the blank example that I created. Now there's the fallacy. You notice I had to click on this twice to get it to drop down, but there's the fallacies. So now when I make an example, let's make an example. So come back up here. So here's one example. Either you're for me or you're against me. So that's an example of a false dilemma. And it's so short it can be the same, and I'll add my fallacy, false dilemma, and similarly, and that's my record. Now I'll make a new example, make example, and what will this one be? America, love it or leave it. So America, love it or leave it. Again, I'll just use that as the title as well. Right. In my description, I could, actually say a little bit more. I could say, this says there's only two options here. You either have to love America or you have to leave it. There's no third choice. I don't know what else to say about that one. It seems pretty clear to me, but maybe we could say more. So update. Oh, did I update the other one? I might have forgotten to update it. List example. See? Yeah, I forgot to update it. So false dilemma, update. So those don't save automatically. I've thought about maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. I think there's one more here, and I might as well make that. Yeah, either support Meech Lake or Quebec will separate. Again, now that's kind of an old example. It shows how old some of these things are. So I'll make a new example. New example. Right. And add the fallacy, false dilemma. There we go. All right. So, well, that's wonderful. Now I have examples for my fallacy. I'd like to be able to display them. So let's look at how we do that with the post. So let's list the views, and then we'll find a view that has to do with a post. So post HTML. Are we going to see one here? No. Just trying to find one. Well, here, let's make this a little more precise. Filter view, post link. There we go. Post link HTML. Okay, so here is how I show the author and the feed. So I'm going to take this, I'll just copy this. Now let's edit our view, our HTML view for the fallacies. So fallacy.html, here it is. So definition. Now let's put in here. So key list, DB equals fallacy. ID equals fallacy ID. So that's this record, whatever record it is. Key table equals example. And postfix equals, so this is what follows each examples, like prefix, postfix, right? BR, so that's a line break. And so now I'll put these examples in a list separated by BR. The other thing I should do this as well, format equals, what will it be? Let's call it, we'll just make it list. So, and that says what kind of format. So now what we're going to need to do is to create that view, the list format, for example. So I'm going to make a new view, right? And so it's going to be example list, so the name of the table and the name of the format, and then all I want to do here is example, and then the field description, and that's it. So let's have a look at our fallacies now. Let's go back to a page. So this is page equals CGI, so I'm loading this live, and I'll reload this page, and here's my examples. Didn't show up very well, did it? It's still stuck with the comma. So maybe I can make that view a bit better. Or even better, let's do it like this. Let's do a list element, and I'll close the list element. All right, and then we'll go back to the fallacies view, fallacy.html, and so here I'll just put ordered list in front and ordered list after. There we go. Now that should look a bit better. Oops, that's not the page. That's the page. There we go. And it's still adding those commas, so I'll have to fix that. You really shouldn't be adding commas. But you get the idea, right? So here are my examples. It all feels like one record, but really what I've done here is I've pulled together two different types of records to form a single kind of record. So Grasshopper's full of these kind of things, and of course the really nice thing about Grasshopper is that you can build these two kinds of records and associate them and do it really quickly and really flexibly. You saw how quickly this video went to obtain this result. Now all I need to do is, add my examples and add the rest of my fallacies, and I've got something pretty nice there. And I was thinking about, I've created these categories, and here's the fallacy, right? And I could make the different categories or the different classes of fallacies their own data type as well. Now, I kind of want to be careful here about what I call that, whether I call that a category or a class or whatever, but it doesn't matter if I'm only using data within this application. But there's the two ways of doing it, right? I could use the opt list here, or I could use the key list this way. The opt list you would use if you're only assigning one category per fallacy. The key list you'd use if you have a potentially many-to-many kind of relationship. That's it for key lists. That's all I have to show in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Stephen Downs.